Alright guys, welcome back to the third session. Right, in this third session, we're going to generate the link to SQL classes. And if you are with the Visual Studio 2017, and just in case you do not see this link to SQL classes when you try to add new item later, so please go to the Visual Studio 2017 installer and enable these link to SQL tool, and you can find the steps in the previous slide or on the previous video, right? Okay, so now just assume that you have already enabled this link to SQL class tools. Let's go ahead and go back to our WPF um, UI here, and as what we have done on the last tutorial, the last session, we actually dragged in the list box. So now we have the list box, and it's time for us to add the link to SQL class. So go to your project here and right click to add a new item, right? So add new item, select the data component, right? And go ahead and select the link to SQL classes, okay? And just click add to be included into the project. And you will notice that you will have two boxes created here, one with a slightly bigger box at the left hand side and a slightly thinner box at the right hand side here. So that shows the object relational designer, right? So that's for you to actually drag your database data into this left hand box here. So expand your database and go to select your table, in this case the viewer. So drag the viewer table to the left hand box of this um, object relational designer, right? So drag it and drop it, and be prompted to to copy your database into your project, right? So this is something that we have already created the database, in the very beginning, which I told you that you don't have to worry. Your database will have another copy into this project. So this is the time that it will help you to do so. So go ahead and click yes, and we're gonna have the database copied into our project here. So you can see the photos.mdf, it's in here, right? Okay. So now make sure that you make a build again to your solution, because when you drag and drop, so there will be some codes that needs to be compiled and created from the uh, Visual Studio, right? So once you have done the build, you will be ready for the next step, which is gonna add a new data source based on what we already have it here, right? So now we have a viewer, we have three attributes that we have recreated from the database. So go ahead and click the add new data source from the data source window. Just in case you don't see the data source window, you can go to the view and select the other windows, and it's located here, data sources, right? So click on it and you will enable this box windows to be here. Click add new data source, select the object, right? And next we're going to expand the object that we have, and you can see that the viewers, the data set that we are interested to add into our project here, right? So only select the last viewer checkbox here, right, and click finish. So this data source will be added into your new data source window here, and you can expand it. You can see that you have the ID, path, and title available here, right? So go back to your WPF window, and it's time for us to drag and drop in some data to show out our songs, right? Songs title to the list box. So if you click on the arrow drop down, select the list component, right? This component, so that you'll be kind of selected and will be shown out in the format of a list, right? So drag this viewer and drop it directly into the list box, and you can see the icon of the cursor is slightly different. Okay, so allows you to drag and drop in. So once you release your mouse cursor, you can see that there are 3 zeros available here. So these 3 zeros are actually taken from the a default ID, right? Which we are not really interested to see the ID, but we are more interested to see the title being displayed here, and whatever selections that be selected by the user, it will capture the actual MP3 or your photo path, right? So scroll to the right here at the XAML, right? And you'll be seeing that there's a display member path here. So type in the attribute name. In this case is a title, right? So in case you use a different name, so make sure that it is the same as what you have created from the database table, right? And then the selected value path, I'm going to select path here, right? So again, just make sure that it's the same spelling as what you have already created from the database table, right? Okay, so once you have done that, you can now select and add the codes into your VB form, right? So by default, when you select the code behind your form, so it's actually located here as well, right? So click on it and you can see your VB forms. So you have the viewer view source that's already available because you drag and drop it into the list box, right? So what I will need you to do is to actually add a few lines of codes so that you know the list box will know how to interpret that based on the link to SQL2 codes, right? So I have that already done. So I'm just gonna paste it in. That's my code that I've already put in, right? So I added the additional declarations of these variables, right? And I added the load images from database because I'm supposed to show you um, how to do a photo album instead of a MP3 player, right? So, and then the load images from database is actually from the methods here, right? Yeah, that's all you need for this, and you should be able to see something that is being loaded to your this player at this moment, right? So let me just go through quickly on what it means on every line here. Database context is actually the database object that you added, which is now just photos, the MDF, right? The viewer resource is the data set that you actually added from a while ago, right, from the viewer. And the MP3 player, we call it M player, right? We instantiate to a new media player so that we can kind of play a song. The image path, right, or the song path is actually we take the app domain current domain base directory, which is pointing to the binary um, depends if the debug folder or release folder, and there's a songs there, right? So it is when you make an F5 or when you run your applications. So this is going to be the directory, yeah, the default directory that will point to your path. I have a counter to show to me at which song I'm already running, and also there's a collection of the song list or the picture list, right? An array that store the strings. So first I load the images into the list box, and I get the same viewer view source from my data set that I added into the list box a while ago, and I make a photos query using the link format, right? So you can see that stuff from photos in the database context, in this case the viewers. I select the photos, right, and I will just select all whatever photos or songs that I have from my table, and I make it into the source here, right? So they display out into my list box. Okay, so these are the additionals when I need to perform in my next item. So for this moment, these are codes that you will need, right? Okay, so if we make a start running it, and you should be seeing that a few titles that's been uh, displayed. So those, yeah, that's right. Okay, so because you select to display it as a title, right? Okay, so in let's end the session here. In my next session, I'm gonna display and explain to you on the buttons on how we're gonna play, stop the songs, and also add new songs and delete songs. Right? Thank you for watching.